Today we're talking about the neurobiology of trauma and how trauma impacts different structures of the brain, in particular the structures of the brain that are necessary to be active so our students can be available for learning. If this is a model of the brain, the top part is called the neocortex. For our purposes, we're going to call this the learning brain. The learning brain is responsible for executive functioning, language, reasoning, and problem solving. Safe and predictable experiences actually hardwire our brain to be functioning from top down. That means we're in our learning brain and we have access to language and reasoning and problem solving. Right underneath our learning brain is our midbrain. And the midbrain stores our long-term memory and our emotions. But in our case, the most important part of the midbrain is actually the amygdala. The amygdala takes in information from our surroundings and sends it up if it's safe information, or down to our reptilian brain if it's unsafe information. So how does the amygdala decide? It's kind of like walking through the woods. If you take a path over and over again, that path is going to be clear and easy to walk through in time. There's also a less traveled path, which is more difficult to get to and may not seem as easy to go through. So if the amygdala experiences safe and predictable environments through childhood, it's more likely to send your path up into the learning brain. And so traveling up into the learning brain, or your regulated brain, is easier because you're used to doing it. But what happens when you experience constant adversity in your childhood and you experience toxic stress? It leads to the brain functioning consistently in helplessness, hopelessness, and powerlessness. That leads to a brain rooted in survival mode or rooted in the reptilian brain. When you're in the reptilian brain, you cannot function logically. You have no sequential thinking. You have poor memory and storage retrieval. And you don't have access to auditory and language processing. So physiologically, when functioning from the bottom-up control system, students are unable to learn. However, if their history has offered them safe and predictable experiences, they're more likely to remain in their learning brain. If their history has been surrounded by adversity and hopelessness, the amygdala will take in that information and send it down into their reptilian brain, where they're completely dysregulated and unable to learn.